Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Paige Haupt, and I'll be the MC this afternoon. I'm 16 years old, and this is my 6th year in 4-H. What is 4-H? This is a frequently asked question by many people. 4-H is a program where children learn to do by doing, where kids come together to develop and practice their public speaking, leadership, and teamwork skills. 4-H has many different kinds of projects, from horse and beef to photography and archery. It is an opportunity to meet new people and learn new things. 4-H will be celebrating 100 years in the year 2013. There will be celebrations in Lethbridge on January 19th. We would like to thank Farming Smarter for letting us speak today. Farming Smarter has been a great support in letting 4-H kids speak at their conferences and show them just what learning how to speak can do in the real world. Our first speaker today is Casey Finstad. Casey is 16 and has been in 4-H for 8 years and is part of the Shortgrass 4-H Beef Club. She is currently president of her club and is doing 3 projects: market steer, heifer, and horse. Casey Finstad, diamonds are a girl's best friend. Diamonds are a girl's best friend, Casey Finstad.
When you hear the phrase, diamonds are a girl's best friend, what type of diamond do you think of? I'd guess that the majority of you think of the gem, right? Well, for me, I think of a completely different type of diamond. Thank you, Madam Chairperson. Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. Now you may be thinking, what other type of diamond is there? It's called a diamond hitch. The diamond hitch has been used for centuries by hunters, wilderness trekkers, prospectors, you name it, to tie their cargo onto the backs of horses, donkeys, or mules. As Joe Back says in his book, The Packer's Bible, quote, "The diamond hitch is to make sure your load stays in place and does not shift in any way," end quote. The hitch is what secures your load to the horse, rather than just to the saddle. Now the diamond hitch simply gets its name from the diamond shape that is formed either on the top or the sides of the pack, depending on the style. Some of these styles would include the single diamond hitch, the one-man diamond hitch, or the double diamond hitch. Perhaps the easiest of these 3 hitches would be the one-man diamond hitch, because it can be done simply and smoothly by one man, hence the name. But before you get into tying your one-man diamond hitch, you're going to need to saddle your horse and prepare your load. The equipment you'll need consists of a pack saddle, this one is called a sawbuck, a saddle pad, 2 pack boxes, a canvas cover, also known as a mantee, a lash rope, which will be used to tie your diamond hitch, and a lash cinch. Along with all of your equipment, you're of course going to need a horse, and I would like to introduce you all to my Blue Roan Trigger. Perhaps one of the most important factors when it comes to tying on your load is the weight of your cargo. Your pack boxes will be positioned on either side of your horse, so balance is key when it comes to keeping your load on the horse and keeping the horse comfortable and happy. If you think you're pretty good at guessing, then you can weigh your boxes by hand. But a more accurate way would be to use a simple weigh scale, like this one. Because both of my boxes are empty, I know that they're each approximately 21 pounds. When tying the boxes on the horse, you want to be sure not to put them too high, too low, too far forward, or too far back. If they're too high, you won't make it far before they slip down. If they're too low, the horse's breathing will be restricted. And if they're too far forward or too far back, the horse's movement will also be restricted. The top of each box should be flush, or at least as close as possible, to this part of the saddle, known as the buck. To tie on my second box, I'm going to take this rope and create what's called a basket. I do this by creating a loop, tail end behind, hook it over the buck. I'm going to place my box in this part of the basket, pull on the end of the rope to take out any slack, and then secure it. To secure my rope, I'm going to take the tail end and tuck it underneath the basket. Pulling down, I'm going to tie a slip knot. have a bunch of extra rope that I need to get rid of to make sure it's out of the way. I can do this by creating a daisy chain by pulling a loop, through a loop, through a loop, and tucking it up and out of the way. Next, we can put on the canvas cover. This is what will protect your pack from things such as branches or rain. When putting this on, you want to be sure not to throw it over the head of the horse, otherwise you'll spook it. Instead, throw it over its rear. And make sure it's evenly covering both sides. Now we can tie the diamond hitch. Taking the lash rope and lash cinch, uncoil it and make sure there are no knots. In the loop of the cinch, I'm going to make what's called a tongue, or just a really big loop, making it big enough to throw over the entire pack. Take the loop and toss it over the pack. Go around and make sure there are no twists in the rope. Next, take the end of your loop. First, take your cinch and you're going to pass it under the horse's belly. But be sure that the hook faces the rear of the horse. That way it won't get caught on anything. Pass it under the horse's belly. Once again, making sure there are no twists in the rope. Take the end of the loop and hook it onto the cinch. Now we need to take out all the slack. Sorry, I messed up my cinch. I'll have to redo it. Starting over, create a large loop. Bring it over the pack. Pass the cinch underneath the horse. Hook it onto the cinch and take out any slack. Keeping a firm grip on the rope, bring it under this side of the box and up to the top. Now we're going to start forming the diamond. To do this, take the two top ropes and twist the left over the right 2 or 3 times. Twisting once, twice, 3 times. Stick your hand through that hole created between the twists and pass the rope through it, bringing the rope all the way through. Bring it underneath the second box, back around the other side, up to the top, and through the other side of the hole created by the twists. Back down the first box, and pull the rope through the loop in the cinch, and secure it with a slip knot. Now you may notice that there is quite a bit of slack left in my diamond hitch. To get rid of this, start at the beginning and pull with all your might, following the rope through again. Release your slip knot, pull out the slack, and tie your knot again. Once again, I have a bunch of leftover rope, so I'm going to make another daisy chain, pulling a loop, through a loop, through a loop, and tucking it up and out of the way. On the one-man diamond hitch, the diamond shape has been formed here on the top of the pack. Let me know if you can see that. Now that our diamond hitch is tied, we're ready to go. But first, let's review. You'll need the proper equipment to get started, so you'll need a pack saddle, saddle pad, 2 pack boxes, a canvas cover or manty, a lash rope, and a lash cinch. You're going to need a horse as well. First, weigh your boxes before putting them on to make sure they're equal in weight. Throw on the canvas cover, throwing over the rear of the horse, not the head. And lastly, tie your diamond hitch. The resources I used for my presentation were from Joe Back's book, The Packer's Bible, my dad, and my own experience. Are there any questions? Thank you.
Next, we have Kaylin Copeland. Kaylin is 17 and has been in 4-H for 6 years with the Stavely Stampeders Light Horse Club. Her projects include reining, jumping, and young horse. Kaylin Copeland, a new threat, Kaylin Copeland.
Grabbing a snack, you plop your heavy backpack on the floor. You head to the quiet of your bedroom. Firing up your laptop, you're eager to chat with your friends on Facebook. A new message pops up from unknown. As you quietly read it, anxiety builds and your stomach twists into knots. You feel fully exposed and trapped. A voice inside your head screams, stop it, I can't take it anymore." Good afternoon, Madam Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen. This is no horror movie, no beginning to a science fiction novel. This is real life for many teens and even adults who experience it almost every day. It is the electronic and faceless cruel taunts, labels, and threats that plague some people on a daily basis, grinding away at the essence of who they are. This is cyberbullying. As long as mankind has been around, there's been bullying of various types. Some people have always felt the need to belittle, torment, or simply dominate those who seem weaker. With social networking, cell phones, and advancements in technology, cyberbullying is a new threat that we aren't able to control. Physical types of bullying often affect teenagers very emotionally, but they are also easy to track and notice as some of the signs are visible. Cyberbullying has the element of deceit. People feel as though they are untouchable, safe behind their electronic devices. To an extent, that's true. The internet has billions of people online every day, and it is nearly impossible for authorities to track down who is bullying you if the bully wants to remain hidden. The Cyberbullying Research Center, which is based in the United States, found that mean, hurtful comments and spreading malicious rumors are the most common types of cyberbullying. Over 80% of teens use a cell phone regularly, making it the most popular form of technology and a common medium for cyberbullying, as reported by the center. Approximately half of young people have been the recipients of some kind of cyberbullying, and between 10 and 20% experience it on a daily basis. Of the teens that have been cyberbullied, over half will not tell their parents about it. According to the center's research, girls are at least as likely as boys to be cyberbullies or their victims. Boys are more likely to be threatened by cyberbullies. The bullying techniques often break down teens, making them extremely vulnerable and lowering their self-esteem, allowing anxiety and depression to set in. Anxiety and depression are the two main symptoms of cyberbullying. Since the teenage years are already a hormonal roller coaster for many teens, it can be difficult to determine the causes of such symptoms, making it tricky for parents and others to attribute it to cyberbullying. Cyberbullying can go so far that it can cause its victims to feel like they can't escape, so it seems that there's only one option left, only one way out from the pain: suicide. According to the American Association of Suicidology, suicide rates among 10 to 14-year-olds have increased more than 50% over the past 30 years, and a new review of studies from 13 countries done by the Yale School of Medicine found signs of an apparent connection between bullying, being bullied, and suicide. Statistics are cold facts, but in the real world, when a young person finds escape and suicide, the people who love them are left devastated and wondering what they could have done to prevent it. So what can we do to prevent such tragedy? Young people should be urged to tell their parents, teachers, or some adult if they're experiencing cyberbullying. They should keep the messages as proof, especially if they're sexual or threatening in nature, so that the parents can speak with the parents of the person bullying, their cell phone or internet provider, or the police. Parents should support their children if they're being victimized and reassure them that the bullying is not their fault. To be proactive, parents and teachers should inform teens about what cyberbullying is and how serious it can be. The possible consequences need to be explained so that all teens think about what they say or do before they do it. My own experience with cyberbullying involves some of the more popular kids in my junior high school trying to decide who I could speak with and who I could not. They bothered me online, calling me names, labeling me as stupid, and making my life extremely difficult simply because I had the guts to make my own choices. I sought out my school guidance counselor to make them stop because I couldn't handle it anymore. The bullying stopped within days because I spoke out against my bullies and let them know that they were no better than I was. It may not be realistic to love everyone and to be friends with everyone, but it is realistic to be respectful and considerate about what you say online, because once it's online, it is no longer yours and you can't control it. Perhaps the best way to stop not only cyberbullying, but all types of bullying, is to have respect and understanding in all ways, not only online. Maybe the best way to do that is to do unto others as you would have them do unto you.
Next, we have Kelvin Holthe. Kelvin is 15 and has been in 4-H for 7 years. He has a steer project in the Retlaw Prairie 4-H Beef Club and a small engines as well as welding project in the TNT 4-H Multi Club. Kelvin Holthe, a lesson learned, Kelvin Holthe.
Boy, that was stupid. I guess this wasn't such a good idea. Well, it sure started out as a good day. Thank you, Madam Chairperson, ladies and gentlemen. November 6th was my grandfather's 79th birthday, and the day before my 14th. The thermometer read -9 degrees Celsius, but it was sunny and calm, an excellent day for shooting. After breakfast, my brother, Curtis, and I told my parents that we were going hunting. What we didn't tell them, though, was where and what we were hunting for. Now, I know what we did was wrong, as well as illegal, and my parents were hesitant for me to give this speech. But maybe others will learn from my mistakes. Curtis and I loaded up our gear into my truck and headed to our neighbor's land, a couple miles away. The field was white with snow geese. In the very middle was a slough, more like an overgrown water puddle from all the rain last year. We parked my truck, loaded our guns, and started sneaking up on them. I guess we really aren't that sneaky. The geese flew up right away, we both shot, and we both missed. Even the best hunters miss sometimes, probably more than they would admit. Luckily for us, though, the geese landed on the other side of the slough. This time, we were even more sneaky. We got really close. The geese flew up, we both shot, and we both missed again. Sadly, we started walking back to the truck. So much for wild goose for supper. But then, over on the water, we saw some ducks swimming. This time, we were even more sneaky. We got right to the edge of the pond. The ducks flew up, we both shot, and we got one. The mallard fell right in open water, just on the edge of the ice. We were prepared for this. We had brought along chest waders. I figured that the ice wasn't thick enough, but I would just break through and wade out to the duck. No problem. Surprisingly, the ice held until I was within meters of the duck. Suddenly, I fell through. That overgrown mud puddle was a lot deeper than we thought, and it was cold. I managed to grab the edge of the ice and keep my head above water, but my chest waders were quickly filling up. I let go of my grandpa's shotgun and pulled myself higher. Hypothermia happens when the body loses heat faster than it can make it. According to Botan Basics, the body loses heat 25 times faster in water than in air. The Canadian Life Saving Manual states that hypothermia can start in water temperatures as warm as 20 degrees Celsius. In water at the freezing point, you can lose consciousness in about 15 minutes and be dead within an hour. I was in big trouble. Curtis came running when I yelled, and he started pulling on the chest wader straps. Just when I was about to get out, the ice cracked again, and Curtis was in too. Oh great, I thought, now who's going to feed our 4-H calves and nominate me for 4-H club president? I helped push Curtis back up onto the ice, and we repeated this about 3 more times until we were both able to get out. Unfortunately, we had to leave the shotgun, and it sank before we could get at it. Now, it was still 5 below, and we were both freezing. Luckily for us, though, we had illegally driven over in the truck. We started the truck and cranked the heat. Curtis driving me home was almost the scariest part of this whole experience. My parents were furious when we told them the story. Mom asked, "Are you okay?" Dad asked, "Is the gun okay?" Although Dad was still very angry when we went back for the gun, he got real quiet when he saw the slough and the broken ice. I am only going to say this once. That was very stupid. He didn't say very, though. Did you learn your lesson? Yes, Dad, we sure did. First, always tell your parents where you're going to be. Mom and Dad thought that we were hunting coyotes and rabbits in our coulees. Actually, if Dad had been with us, probably none of this would have happened. Second, obey all the laws. They are there for a reason, even if I think 14-year-olds should be able to drive. Third, looks can be deceiving. It turned out that overgrown mud puddle was 7 feet deep enough for a scuba diver to go down for a shotgun. That bald prairie isn't as flat as it seems. And finally, always hunt with a buddy. I am so glad Curtis was with me. For my birthday, my parents gave me a camouflage jacket and pants. I also got new winter boots. But my best present, though, was from Curtis. He gave me my life.
Next, we have Brianne Peltzer. Brianne is 11 and is starting her 3rd year in 4-H. She is a member of the John Ware Light Horse Club, doing a level 1 to 3 horsemanship project, the John Ware Beef Club with a market steer and a heifer project, and the Cow Country 4-H judging, where she's learning all about judging. Brianne Peltzer, I didn't buck today, treats. I didn't buck today, treats. Brianne Peltzer.
Hannah, you were a very, very good girl. I'll go get you some treats. I had a great ride on my horse Hannah today, but I don't have any more treats for her. Ladies and gentlemen, today I would like to show you how to make my very special treats. I like to call them I didn't buck today treats. The first thing we're going to do is set the oven to 300 degrees Fahrenheit. Beep, beep, beep. Now that that's done, I'm going to put on an apron. Because this job, well, it could get a little messy. Now, let's get baking. The first thing we're going to do is, in our first bowl, we'll mix together the wet ingredients, starting off with a half a cup of very, very sticky molasses. My mom always says I'm as slow as molasses in January. Now I know what she's talking about. Next, I will add in a 1/4 cup of brown sugar. Who doesn't like a little brown sugar? Now I will add in 1 cup of grated carrot. I used a grater like this to shred my carrot on this setting. For the safety of your fingers, you may want help with this step. And finally, I'm going to add in a half a cup of applesauce. You can use any type of applesauce. I prefer unsweetened because I think the molasses and the brown sugar make it sweet enough. Now, just take your spatula and just stir it all together. I sure hope my horse Hannah is going to be patient. I hope these treats will turn out fine, but I'm sure they will. This is what it should look like once you're finished stirring. Moving on, I'm going to go to my second bowl, and I'm going to mix together the dry ingredients, starting off with a half a cup of sweet feed. You can find sweet feed at the feed store. Next, I will add in 1 cup of rice bran. Rice bran gives your horse a nice shiny coat, and you can find it at the feed store. Now, I'm going to add in a 1/4 cup of flaxseed. If you're lucky like me, your dad will have a whole bin of flax at home. But if not, you can find flax at the feed store or grocery store. And finally, I'm going to add in a half a cup of flour. This helps thicken the dough mixture. And you can find it at the grocery store in the baking aisle. Now, using my spoon, I'm just going to stir this all together. This is what it should look like. Now, I'm going to take my dry ingredients and put it into the molasses mixture. And using my spoon, I'm just going to stir this all together. It might take a little bit of muscle, but it's worth it. This is what the finished dough should look like. Now, let's get them ready for the oven. The first thing I'm going to do is take my aluminum foil and line my cookie sheet with it, like this. This helps the cookies not stick to the cookie sheet, and it makes the mess a whole lot easier to clean up. Now, using my tablespoon, I'm going to take spoon-sized amounts and put them on my cookie sheet and flatten them slightly. The flattening helps them cook more evenly, so you don't get one side burnt, one side not. That's not very good. And one more time, just take a spoon-sized amount and put it on your cookie sheet. I put 12 cookies on a cookie sheet, but this recipe makes 18. So, when this is done, you can put on your oven mitts and put it into the oven. Don't forget to check on them, or else they might burn. Do, 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 do. Bing, they're done. When the time is up, you can take them out of the oven. And using a flipper, you're just going to take them off your cookie sheet and put them on a cooling rack so they can cool off. This is what the finished product should look like. 3 things that I think are important to remember when making these treats. 1, measure your ingredients carefully. 2, mix your ingredients thoroughly. And 3, don't forget to check on them in the oven, or else they might burn. When they've cooled off, you can take them and put them in your pocket for your favorite horse friend to enjoy. I sure hope my horse Hannah's being patient. These I didn't buck today treats look great. Maybe she won't buck tomorrow either. Fingers crossed. Well, I'm just out to the barn, y'all. See you later. I'm coming, Hannah.